Hi everyone, we're going to talk about scheduling. Scheduling is a weird thing when it comes to content because, well, most services nowadays have features that let you schedule posts in advance. Alright, okay, so think about you're an artist, because you probably are if you follow me. You've probably come through some kind of funnel where you've gone through 3D artwork, you've learned about Blender or something related, you've accidentally found me and now you know a tiny bit about me and you're watching this video. The likelihood is you've probably posted something on social media or a website at some point relating to your work. Maybe you want to do that more, maybe you want to do it less, maybe you rely on it for clients. Everyone's got a different story. Anyway, some people schedule their work and some people find it a weird thing to do. And me as a content producer, I've always lent more in the way of do it yourself rather than schedule. I think it's mostly been because I like being in control when putting something out into the world and having people see it. And I like assessing the immediate response because I want to keep on track on if I've made a critical mistake that I've missed. That's always been an anxiety for me. I'm not sure why. Like, I'll edit a video, I'll watch it like 5 times over, and even despite that, I'm worried that I've made a critical error. Like maybe I've given credit to the wrong person accidentally, or I said something that was actually just completely incorrect, or I broke the GDPR by like showing a customer's email on the screen or something like that. I'm always anxious about that situation. So part of the reason why I don't tend to schedule things is because I'm always looking out for the live, like in the moment, I've just released something and I'm waiting for someone to point out an error. And if I had scheduled it, then maybe I'm actually off doing something else. Maybe I've gone down to the local town or I'm helping someone else and I may not even realize that someone's informing me that a mistake has just been published. But in my heart of hearts, I know that scheduling content is actually a really good thing for me to do. We've discussed a lot about the creativity, or the psychology of creativity rather, for people with attention deficit disorders, which by the way, I have not been diagnosed yet still. My brother, by the way, has actually just been diagnosed with autism. I talk a lot about attention deficit disorder because this really funny quirk has happened where, as I've done videos talking about the techniques that I've come up with to deal with my mind, right, in terms of expressing creativity while also maintaining output, those videos have attracted mostly attention deficit people, not exclusively, but a lot of them. So kind of by proxy, it's kind of highlighted to me that, oh, actually, the things that I'm doing are extremely helpful for attention deficit people. Therefore, I don't know, it's kind of implying something, right? But I don't feel like I need a diagnosis. I'm more in the mind of, hey, it is what it is. Let's just get on with things. If I can help people, that's great. But I don't need to know if I'm any categorical definition of anything. But anyway, not scheduling things is a bit of a problem for me because though I like to be in control and put things out live in the moment so I can assess for immediate errors, it does often lead to me putting things off. And I don't always like to admit that in the moment. But sometimes when I'm sitting there and I think, oh, I should be releasing this today. Oh, but I don't actually feel like it. Oh, I can do it tomorrow instead. Or if there's anything that gets in the way, maybe it's a family obligation, I think, well, I'm in control. Technically, I don't have to put out today. I can do it tomorrow. In some situations, things get pushed back so far that they just get deleted. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. Actually, there's quite a lot of time that becomes filler just because of micro excuses like that. Accumulated, I think it makes a big difference. And actually scheduling content in advance would subvert that because I'm not in control of the publishing process as such. If I schedule it in advance, it's a version of me rather in the past that dealt with that proofread the things, that prepared the posts. In fact, I can't even remember them in the present anymore. And when things get published, it's actually a surprise to me. Oh, my video just went out. Oh, I remember that one. Oh, interesting. Because we kind of compartmentalize the experiences of working on things. At least I do. When I'm working in a technical flow, it's easy to compartmentalize different types of skill sets like editing, working on thumbnails, copywriting for like the publishing text and stuff like that. So scheduling is something that I've kind of been in a fight with myself against. Now, not every platform allows for scheduling, and there are some services which try to fill the gap. So for example, Mastodon and Blue Sky don't have scheduling tools as such, which kind of puts them in a bit of a weird position where that ADD excuse thing comes into play. Why should I schedule something if there's a problem with scheduling my process? For example, if I put a video out, I want to mention it on every social platform. But if Mastodon and Blue Sky don't allow scheduling, then why should I schedule it anywhere? Why not just put it out live. What I've realized recently is that that's a stupid line of thought, because again, it's just another excuse. Small things, like small inefficiencies, like Mastodon and Blue Sky lacking scheduling features, should not hold back an advancement or an improvement in other areas. I've realized that recently, and as such, I'm starting to schedule things and understanding how much of a weight it actually lifts off of me when it comes to like publishing days. Instead of sitting and wasting an entire morning thinking about publishing something at like 12 o'clock, I'm now spending that morning doing something else. And it's weird that it's taken that long to kind of realize that. Similar to how I've described like maximizing myself as a person as splitting myself into different people, the artist, the reporter, and more recently the guide, it feels like the scheduling service in some way is like a different ephemeral self that is not anxious and is still releasing the stuff for me, like a parallel co-routine or a subroutine, if trying to find better terminology, like a ghost of yourself that's releasing things for you. In this moment, I am also kind of realizing that there's this weird thing about talking about having multiple versions of yourself with a literal other version of myself on the screen. Hi, dude. How you doing? Is there like some kind of poetic nature that we can never look at each other when we're speaking to ourselves? Look at me. I don't know. It's weird. Thing is, though, like I said, there are services which try to fill in the gap where social platforms don't have scheduling features. I'm not going to name those services, but there's a lot of them, you know, and you can pay a sub fee and organize your posts on them. I don't really like the idea of that. I don't want to add more subscription fees. And then there's always the risk that whatever like API or other like custom tools they're using to post those services on your behalf, they could go out of date and like suddenly stop working. And yeah, it's their job to fix that, but I don't really like the idea of relying on something that's prone to breaking, if that makes sense. It does make me wonder, and I have thought about this quite a lot, if I had a bit more money and I hired a helper, what is actually the thing that would help me the most if I hired an assistant? Because I thought about the things which are obvious in the past, things like editing, but I don't really want to give editing to someone else because I like to trim things in a certain way. There's a pacing. Not everyone likes my pacing, but there's a pacing that I'm comfortable with. There's also, when I'm recording, I oftentimes throw like personal information on the screen, like in between cuts and edits, just because I'm constantly flicking through things. And I don't necessarily want an editor to see that, or like the number of failures I make while speaking. But maybe hiring someone to do the scheduling or to extend the scheduling, because another thing I've noticed is that I can be ruthlessly efficient at recording. One of the things that holds me back in making content is knowing that I have a backlog of other things to publish. So if you've been following for a while, you know that I've been making little optimizations to myself over time. Optimizing for content production is not necessarily a great thing. I don't necessarily see it that way. I see it more as unlocking the artist, giving them the power to publish without concern, while also maximizing output. By the way, if you hear any background noise at the moment, someone's just entered the house and the dogs are excited. The point is, I'm learning as I go along. I'm starting to schedule things a bit more, but not necessarily in an optimized way, such as using other services, just using the platform features themselves. And then what I do is I've got a calendar on my project planning page. And on the days when things are scheduled to go out, I have like little colored sticky notes that say, hey, actually Mastodon, Blue Sky, Instagram stories, and Discord still need to be given a thing to publish at this time. So I'm figuring out as I go along. But anyway, I've got to go because like I said, people are entering the house and making noise. So if you made it this far, leave some kind of calendar related emoji. I guess that makes sense. Stay safe, everyone, and I'll see you next time.